Hey there, Joy Bird Art here with you again. I've been working on this frog that I've had going for a while, honestly longer than most paintings I have, which I tend to either finish in one sitting in an afternoon or an evening, or just come back to once or twice. But for some reason, with this tie-dye background that I did a long time ago, and then this frog I've been filling in with, I've been taking more time than I normally do. Here's where he is right now. I added some, just for fun, some kind of speckles there in the background, some spots, more green than I planned, and I did a lot of work here on the grass, which I really like, actually. It's very different, kind of messier than I originally planned on, but I like what I'm seeing there. To be honest, at this point, I like him better than I did a few steps ago, but he's not yet sort of my favorite, and I think I was kind of overthinking him here a few minutes ago, so I think I'm going to leave off with him for a while, give him a rest till maybe the last session I'll do in the next couple days or so. Just for reference, again, this is the previous frogs that I'd painted, very, very different looking than what I'm doing now, and then the original photographic reference that you see there. This is what I've been working on some tonight, so I think I'll pass that off, let him rest for now, and then bring back another thing I was working on last week, which I really, really am loving. I'll show you here also first the Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press paper, which is a recommendation from one of my friends in the painting class, the painting group that I'm in. Really, really wonderful paper. Definitely worth the investment, and I've really enjoyed working with it. So this is what I had worked on last week, sort of in the early stages now. This sunflower, my first try ever at a sunflower, or sunflowers. Of course, as you can see, I'm enjoying this a whole lot. Lots of fun to kind of get loose in there in the center. As you can see, on recommendation of the leader of the group, my painting group, kind of trying to get different colors in there, sort of purples and yellows, kind of letting the shapes do what they will, blending some different kinds of yellows, even a little bit of purple and other colors there. So I think I'm going to work on this for a little bit more tonight, just for interest. I haven't touched it since last Wednesday, so tomorrow it'll be a week, but I did want to spend a little bit more time with it. So I'm going to set up here to have the stand for the phone. Before I do that, I'll just say hi really quick. This is me, smiling. Take a second, set up here. So you can have a good view of what I'm up to. And then I will spend a little time painting with you here tonight. Excuse me. Once again, have the really great insects and summer sounds happening behind me here. So I'm working on the patio. Such a beautiful, wonderful summer night to be out here. Very cool, still and calm, very quiet. So relaxing. I'm going to try something on this flower. I noticed as I was looking at the other flowers as I was painting in our group last week, she had added some orange here, sort of to the center of the petals, and then sort of bleeding out from there. So I think I'm going to do this, is wet the petals I'm going to be working on, because they're all dry right now. And then sort of see how the orange does with a few of these established petals to kind of blend in. Take kind of a light stroke here. Kind of let that sit, see what it does. I noticed after my first pass with this painting that I liked that I had some of these white areas left open here, so I'm going to try not to cover those up. Also going to try not to have too much overlapping and blending amongst the petals. Kind of keep those distinct as they are as I painted on the first try, but as you can see here in this other flower, I got to overlapping them a little bit more. So that one's different. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just wet all of these petals on this one and then kind of experiment with orange on the inside parts of the petals. That looks really, really nice when I've looked at some other people's examples of painting sunflowers. Of course, not all sunflowers look like that, and of course, as always, we're not necessarily, or I'm not necessarily going for like 100% photorealism, but kind of a balance between what you actually see and what I'm imagining as I'm painting these sunflowers. Kind of find a nice balance between those two things. Just get a little bit of that orange sort of loosely in there. Come back in there and lighten those a little bit here in a minute, but kind of get a go around here. A little bit more pigment. Notice that there's kind of a gap here that I want to make more distinct. So trying to blend in there together. Just let that dry as it is right now. And one of the things I've been working with tonight and working on that frog is controlling pigment volume versus water volume on the brush. And as you can see, it acts very differently depending on what you're doing with that. So like here, with these oranges, I had much more just straight pigment and not as much water. So it's kind of staying intact there, which I like. And then these some other areas over here, it's much more loose and flowing with the water. So I don't want it all to look the same. I'm not going for uniformity, but I do want to have the color stand out and not overpower all the other yellow, but just sort of make sense here and look attractive in the way it's blending in together. And sometimes I don't really pre-plan or think this through. Just kind of go with instinct as I paint. It's a fun way to paint. And, you know, sometimes you look at it later and you totally love it. And sometimes you look at it later and say, oh, what was I thinking? But more often than not, it's the first thing that you kind of don't realize what's happening until you've done it and it dries and you look at it later, which is an enjoyable thing. I'm going to leave that one for a second there. wanted to get more distinct line here between this petal and the one behind it. So I'm not going to leave that dark orange, but just as a start. And then put a little water and kind of blend that edge in. I pull it this way. And I feel like right now I have a little more pigment that I wanted, so I'm going to go back in and just do a light overall dab. Go back in a second pass, a little bit lighter. Kind of see how this is going to work. Thought it might be nice to add some dimension in areas like that. Not all the same shapes like over here, but sort of bipetal.
The thing that's different about a bird.
I already kind of started that over here. On this pass, I'll kind of go back to that idea. I want these edges to be lighter than how I was using the orange before, so I just added a little water to the pigment on my palette. Might do just a couple more passes here and then be done with adding that kind of orange on this flower for now. See how that dries later. I want to actually add in a little more yellow on this one. Add a few other highlights here. You know, when I first started getting more serious about watercolor painting last year and just spending more time doing it on a regular basis, I realize now, looking back, that I never really thought of doing watercolor paintings in multiple steps. So I really hadn't, you know, I played around with watercolors quite a bit, but I hadn't really done anything further than that. And I realize now I would look at paintings and just see the finished product and not realize that maybe was 4 or 5, 6, whatever more layers of paint. And one thing I'm learning now in my painting practice is how that really changes what you can do with a medium. And it's up to you as you work. You can get as elaborate or simplistic as you like, as abstract or representational as you like, as your mood suits, or depending on what you're trying to do with a particular project. So it's one thing I'm really Really enjoying so far. Sometimes, like right now that I've done some of these details, I will close my eyes for a second to kind of rest them and then take a look back over the painting. The whole thing, not just the details. To kind of decide if I want to go any further at that moment or if I'm done for the time being and I want to kind of see what happens. So I'll kind of do that right now. Realize I think I don't want to overwork that flower. Just let it dry and let me see sort of how it looks later. And I'm going to bring my light over here. I've actually been out here for a while, so the battery's starting to get a little bit low on this. It's really cool, by the way, USB rechargeable book light that I use here. And I kind of like what's going on with the orange there. It's not completely dry, but it really is more kind of the effect I think I was going for. So I'll leave that be for now. Just a couple other things I wanted to do here quickly tonight. Just painting a little bit more and then calling it a night. A little bit of orange highlight again on this layer here. I might wet these petals just a little bit. But you can see how this was the last of the third flowers that I did, and it has the least detail. This was very, very loose. Not much detail here at the end of when I was painting last Wednesday, but I like it so far. I'm not sure if I'm going to kind of leave it simple like that as I go, or end up adding more detail later. We'll kind of see how everything looks in balance when I see the whole thing again after it's all dried. And more pigment there than I wanted, so take that back a little. Just a little there along the edge, and kind of pull that out. Maybe a little bit there, a little tiny bit there. Leave that for now. And I have these good greens going I had for my work earlier tonight on the frog. I originally would, if you had seen a previous video, you'd seen he was very brown when I left him last time. And when I looked at him again today, I realized I wanted to add in more green. My first version of those frogs was much more like different hues in the gray family, so really different looking, and so I wanted to try a different look this time. So I had all these good greens mixed up, ready to go tonight. So I use a little bit of this just to add another layer to the stems at this point, but my plan is actually ultimately with these guys is to leave them really loose and just kind of a background accent to what's going on with the flowers, which is the real visual focus I want for this painting. Not so much all the foliage this time. Speaking of foliage, everybody's all freaking out, going crazy about how it's now not even fall yet. So it's the 7th of September right now. Still have a couple weeks to go before the official fall equinox. And I like to stretch out summer as much as possible because here in our state it's pretty short, at least weather-wise, but fall's got its own wonderful aspects and elements and sides to it as well, of course. So probably be highlighting those as we go here in the next few weeks. And I'm choosing painting topics and thinking about apples and not quite yet, but eventually pumpkins and such. So in a way, the sunflower as a subject is kind of the start of that. Kind of a nature bridge between what we had going on in summertime and what's coming on for the fall. So the last thing I wanted to do here tonight, I don't want to overwork this, but I thought I might go back in and add just a few details here to this lovely weird kind of purple blending I have going on in the middle. Just something kind of subtle to add some more visual detail there. I think I might actually dab some of this up and make it a little less obvious. But sometimes it's hard to tell. In the case of this center here, it will probably look very different when it dries than right now, but this is an experiment, so I don't want to go too far. It's always easier to add more later than to put too much and then I can't really change it later. So I'm going to put just a little bit here. I'd mix this kind of gray by mixing purple and green together. And I don't always do this, but I did add a little bit of black. I don't use black or white paint a whole lot. I like to mix the colors, but tonight I wanted some black for the pure black of the eye of the frog. So I had just a little dab here. Tiny dab goes a long way. So this center actually looks quite different than the others, but dab that up again. Notice I got a little bit here I think I can save. Careful not to splash. Deal with that later. If you do have that kind of thing happen, sometimes it helps to kind of wet the brush. And then kind of have a little bit to wash out here. I find that watercolor paper isn't exactly like fabric, obviously, because it's not, but much more so than other kinds of paper, where if you add water to it, you could kind of do something like that to kind of blend in if you have something that feels like a mistake. So, all for tonight. Time to sign off and come back at you with the next video. Thanks for watching.